Hi, I'm not wearing any pants, and this is Chilling in the Nightmare. Today's video is kind of a one-off. I don't know anything about the subject. I'm just gonna talk about it anyways, because, you know, that's par for the course. And that's a cliche, which is par for the course. What is the video? Today's video is called Protestantism is Silly. And I'm the last person who should be making commentary about religion, but I mean, the world we live in is a religious world where people have religions and believe in things, which is fine, you know. I've been told it's actually a big problem, but nobody seems to care, so let's just go with it's fine. I never really had a religion until I married a Catholic. And at some point, my sister mentioned that I was baptized Catholic. And I decided, okay, I am a Catholic. Which is a funny thing for me to be, if you know me. If you don't know me, you think like, this guy, how could he be saying these terrible things? It's just an opinion, I mean, of an atheist. So anybody who believes in God, I mean, I believe in all kinds of things. You want to hear all the gods I believe in, we'll be here all day. I definitely believe in your God, and I believe in the other person's God. And they were, you know, I was watching a video that says that in the Bible there's all kinds of gods, and then God is the one true God, and he's jealous of all the other gods, but then they're not even there, but they are there. But that's here nor there, because to me, I'm going to get down to the point of this video so I don't waste too much time being self-indulgent. Protestantism is silly because, okay, so you've got the Catholic Church, and then it's already very silly. You're believing in these stories that come from thousands of years ago, from a time that probably did not exist, from a place that probably did not exist, written by people who were probably Jews. So, I mean, I guess they technically exist if you believe anything exists, which I don't, unfortunately. I guess I would prefer it if things did exist, but then you'd have to look around and say, is this really happening? You know, the belief that this is not really happening actually makes things a lot easier, because sometimes it's hard to believe that this is really happening, you know? So the Catholics are out there believing something that's really silly. The whole thing is silly. I mean, you know, we're just flesh and blood and bone. And why does it got to be more complicated than that? My dude, Carlos Castaneda, he said, life in and of itself is self-explanatory and sufficient. It's complete. I'm paraphrasing. But life is good the way it is, you know. And whenever it's summertime and I get a lot of bugs smashed all over my windshield, I think about our mortality. And I really cannot find it within myself to believe that we are any better or more special than all the bugs smashed all over my windshield. Or what about all the fish we've pulled out of the ocean? We've killed everything in the ocean. Are we better than all those fish that we murdered in the ocean? Are all the things we've poisoned just with our stupid habits of, gasoline, fossil fuels, and chemicals, all our chemical nonsense, and all the silly things we do, like having those big sonar cannons on the ships that are driving the whales insane. We do all kinds of stupid things. Are we better than any of these animals that we are torturing? Are the animals we create them to eat them, and create them to eat them, and create them to eat them, and Are we better than all these animals that we're eating? I don't believe that we're better than any of these things. You know, and then there's the whole thing about what are our origins really? And there's a lot of evidence that said that we are, you know, hybrids of aliens and hominids. That's what the missing link is in the fossil record. There's a 200,000 year gap where our brains went from, or our skull went from one size and then it became another size immediately. And it should have taken 200,000 years for this change to occur, except it occurred just like that. And they call that the missing link. And they speculate that, you know, because our bodies are not designed to live on this planet, where everything else can live on this planet just fine, but us, we don't do too good here, and our bones are not designed to walk on this planet. Our feet don't match with the planet. It's all kind of, you know, there's a whole thing behind it. But the point is, you know, we may as well be coming from aliens. And it's just like the Bible, the Holy Bible, the New Testament, the Old Testament, it's just how many religious books are out there and how many civilizations were out there, and they had their own religious books with all these old millennia old stories that, what are we doing? Why? Just why? And so you've got the Catholic Church, and then it's not good enough. You want to believe the silly stories, but then you want to go believe the same silly stories, but somewhere else. These people have created the world in which the silly stories can exist, but it's not good enough for you. You got to go somewhere else. And that's really the origin of, from my understanding, is, you know, white civilization. It seems to me, the way I can understand it, is where they were in Britain, right? English people. That was the schism. Was it was just white people that didn't want to dick around with the Latins. It was Nordic people and Germanians and Anglo-Saxons that were said, we don't really want to be involved with all these Latin people, so we're gonna just kind of do the same thing but over here, but different. But we do want to have control over all of our people, so we're gonna be controlling all of our people with the silly stories, because that's what they're there for, really, is to manipulate people and control them. But we don't want to be manipulated and controlled by you, because we got our own thing going on over here. And it's like, was that really necessary? I mean, that's the definition of robbing Peter to pay Paul. You're just got more silly stories. And it's because they didn't want to be associated with all the Latin people. And it's like, but okay, but you've really just, I think they were just incompatible, you know. You really couldn't find a way for Nordics and Anglo-Saxons to, you know, come to terms with Italians and Spaniards and Francos or whatever. So that's what happened. And the whole thing is silly because it's based on a silly story. But what I think of it is like, it's a gang, right? The Catholics, it's a gang. And it's the Catholics, I think, that's the original gangsters, you know. Why do you want to be, what are you even doing over in Protestant world? There's the Protestants, they split off from the Catholics, and then they became 15,000 other divisions of Protestantism. It's like, I don't know how you live with yourself. But I don't know how the Catholics do it either. I don't know how anybody can believe these silly stories when you get to the bottom of it and you look at God and you realize that God behaves a lot like the devil, and the snake in Eden was probably God pretending to be the devil, even though he is, and it's just lies and manipulation. And and so the whole thing is, then there's the New Testament where, you know, we get Christ, who Christ at least, you know, supposedly a real person and at least metaphorically represents something noble, the God of the Old Testament didn't represent anything noble. He's just a complete jerk. He's just manipulating and torturing and throwing us into hell for eternity, you know? And not just that, not just supposedly literal in their stories, but metaphorical, whereas like we live in this world where for generations and generations we cannot get it together and we cannot make it work because there's, you know, the archons, the evil overlords that are just everywhere you turn you run into one of these evil overlord archons and you can't really do anything with this situation. But what you can do is you can conform. You know, if you try to be a nonconformist, I tried to be a nonconformist, and eventually I got to the point where I had no choice but to turn to conformity because I screwed it up so bad. And then they're like, all right, so, you know, it's just bend the knee to the church, go get your slave job, live your slave life, it's all good. And that's when you realize that the Catholic Church is a gang and that you're just joining the gang for the protection of the gang and to be part of something. And the Protestants, they're a fucking gang too. You know, it's just a stupider, sillier gang that really doesn't have the same street cred, but it's got the tenacity and the chutzpah and the spunk and the verve. You know, you got to give it to the Protestants for being wily, I guess. But the whole thing is dumb. I mean, religion is dumb. We get back to my bugs on the windshield thing. You want to see where I'm coming from with this. You say, oh, we're not bugs on the windshield, we're souls, we have the spark of Christ within us, and you know, that may be true. But that goes back to I believe in all the gods things. I believe, most especially in Shintoism, that everything is alive and everything has kami, you know, but I don't practice it, so don't tell the Shinto, they'll be mad at me. But I do believe that everything has kami, even like simple things like this fabric, this is God, this fabric is God. And then this like bamboo stick in my virgin martini is, you know, and then this cup which has a picture of my beautiful Nihonjin Akachan Nihonjin on it. But in the olives, everything, like, you know, in this shirt, it's all got some essence of God infused into it. Man, and that's not even the half of it, dude. I believe in angels are all around us all the time, and I believe the demons are all around us all the time. I feel like there is some dickhead God out there that is just waiting to find out that I've been slandering him, but he's not actually as all-powerful as he says, so he's probably not paying attention. And if he is, well, fucking oops, I guess. You know? And I believe in all this stuff. And what's going on with the Indians and the Indian gods and Kali and the other one? I don't know anything about that stuff. But then, like, what else do we got? Like, the Taoists would sit around and meditate and dream up thousands of gods, and they'd write them down in books. They'd be like, well, this god was doing this, and then this god was doing some other thing, and these gods were having a cocaine orgy, you know, or whatever, you know? I guess they didn't have cocaine in China, but they probably had something else. It's just silly. So this video is called, you know, Protestantism is Silly, but Catholic Abrahamicism, what do they even call that? Abrahamic religions are freaking silly. It's just the one, you know, the Judaism made up the other two. Judaism was like, man, these people are really coming after us. Well, let's make up this other thing, and then there'll be this other thing, and then we could make those two things go at each other. But then they both just hate us the whole time. Whatever, I don't know. It's stupid. I don't even want to talk about it because it's a dumb thing to talk about. This isn't really my thing to be talking about these kinds of things. But it is just the thought I had. And it's just kind of funny. The whole thing is silly. So, you know, Abrahamic religions are silly, and then Protestantism, the schism, was a silly thing, but it's a racial thing. It's just freaking, as far as I can tell. But then they went all around the world and, you know, made everybody like them in all kinds of far-flung places, which, whatever, go ahead. I don't know how people are so eager to believe these silly things. But we know they are, and that's the way it is, and it's not really worth discussing it. I am willing to throw my hat in with the Catholics because they're the original gangsters. I was baptized Catholic anyways, so I'm already kind of involved with the thing. And you know, it's not that bad if you take it with a grain of salt. You know, it's all good. It's like, who cares? Because there's so many other things to care about or not care about or do or don't do that I just think of it as like a gang. And also my wife is Catholic, and she's going to be mad if she watches this because I'm totally belittling her belief system. But I do it all the time anyways. And it is technically my belief system. I am technically in that religion, I guess. And if I wanted to believe it, I could, and I would. Or I would pretend to really hard. I'd pretend as hard as I can. But I don't know how you could pretend that, what are these even people on about, dude? They're on about, you know, hellfire and damnation and, you know, not doing anything wrong so you can get into heaven. It's like, bro, how is it so difficult for people to stop to consider that they're all freaking idiots? And there's been just idiots and hordes of idiots and the whole thing. The fact that you think you know anything, which I know that goes for me too. I shouldn't think that I know anything, but these people shouldn't think that they know. Nobody knows anything. This place is not a real place. It's ethereal. We're just, you know, we're here, but we're not here. So it's just books, the Holy Bible, okay? And then the Holy Quran, okay, and then the Talmud, or whatever they have over there, and then, you know, why? Just why? Can we not just be real? Why is it so hard to just be real? Anyways, I guess I shouldn't have singled out the Protestants because really the whole thing is stupid. Every religion everywhere is pretty dumb, in my opinion. Just my opinion. Whatever. Deuces.